been some officials that have taken issue with some of the top-line estimates we've seen from outside groups in terms of cost, not to mention kind of the view of direct impact on inflation and how things made that out. But if you can't even give a top-line figure for if the uptake was everyone, how are you modeling this out, and what gives you certainty that even a tenth of a basis point in a very high inflation environment wouldn't be problematic for people?
Right, so let's take that in two parts. So the first question is, what's the cost? And as Ambassador Rice said, there's a number of factors that go into that question. There's the take-up rate, right? Folks are going to have to go apply for relief. Our hope is that 100% of people who are eligible go apply for relief and get the relief that they're entitled to. I think realistically we're not going to get to 100%, but the question is, how far short of 100% are we going to be? And that plays a big role in what the cost is going to be. The second aspect is that, look, the student loan portfolio, there are different estimates about repayment rates and default rates, right? Right now, in the student loan portfolio, 16% of borrowers are in default. And if you look at the category of borrowers, there's millions of borrowers who are more than 7 years in default. The median amount of money that the Department of Education collects from those borrowers each year is $0. So even if those borrowers have a face value on their debt of $10,000 and this plan wipes it out, it's not reasonable to say that the cost of that is $10,000 because we were not realistically going to collect anywhere close to $10,000 from it. So the assumptions and the analysis about how much are we expecting to collect, some of that changes over time based on certain macroeconomic conditions and other factors. The third thing we have to pay attention to here is in evaluating the cost of this program, we have to also evaluate the benefits and how that will flow into revenue to the government. You know, our view is based on a lot of good empirical literature. Relieving student loan debt burden is going to help people start small businesses. It's going to make it easier for certain folks to actually save for that down payment and buy a home. All of that additional economic activity in the medium term is going to create additional tax revenue that comes into the government that offsets the cost on the front end. So the bottom line here is that there's all these different factors that go into the cost. Standing here today, I can't tell you how all of those are going to shake out. Part of it is that the Department of Education has to actually implement this policy. They have to get the application out. We have to start getting data on how many people are applying, and I think then, when that happens, we'll have a better sense of what the cost is going to be. On inflation, I think it's good to take a step back and realize where we are today. Today, the student loan payments are paused. They've been paused since the previous administration, and it's been extended multiple times by the Secretary of Education. Because of the pause, you have 45 million borrowers who are not required to make a single dollar in payments right now. What the president announced today was not only this debt relief, but a resumption in payments on January 1st, 2023. When you resume payments, what that means is that millions of borrowers are going to start making payments that come into the federal government. It's going to be billions of dollars a month in payments coming into the federal government. At the same time, of course, there is going to be relief going out to people. And our view is that those two things, the relief going out to people and the money coming in from Restart, largely offset each other. And we're not alone in thinking that. A number of independent experts who've weighed in on this topic today have said the exact same thing. Mark Zandi at Moody's said that, Mike Konzel at the Roosevelt Institute, and others that we can point you to. So our view is that these two will largely offset one another, and in fact, according to some independent experts, it could actually be deflationary given all the money that's coming in after payments resume.
Can I just really quickly though, how are you modeling assumptions about repayment when the same macro effects in terms of whether or not people are going to be prepared to repay, whether they're going to be repaying immediately when it actually happens? Like, how can you make that assumption if you can't make assumptions about the uptake of the program?
Well, I can tell you, in the pre-pandemic, pre-pause era, each month the Department of Education would collect about $6 billion worth of payments from borrowers. During the pause, believe it or not, a number of people are actually making payments voluntarily. And so we're actually collecting about $2 billion in payments. So that delta between what we would normally collect and what we're collecting now is about $4 billion a month. When we restart, the assumption would be that we would, roughly speaking, these are estimates, start collecting that $4 billion again, with a bit of a discount, because obviously certain borrowers are going to get relief, including some borrowers who are going to have their loans completely wiped out. But the main thing we have to understand here is that today we are collecting $2 billion a month in voluntary payments, and after the restart happens, we are going to be collecting something significantly above $2 billion a month from borrowers. And if you think about that at a very basic level, that's why there's that deflationary impact from the restart.